Hello and welcome to another video. I have been to the tar barrels. Now, back in October, so I know it's January now, but back in October I went to the tar barrels. Been quite a bit busy, haven't had a chance to get around to this video yet, so I'm doing it today. I just want to talk to you about how to get the best shots if you're there, what to expect, what to look out for. Just a few general tips and bits of advice if you were to go to somewhere like the tar barrel event, and if you're not sure what it is, it's in Ottery, St Mary, held once a year. They hold these massive barrels on the backs of their heads, set them alight, well, I think they set them alight first and then pick them up, set them alight and then walk through the streets, and we're talking crowded streets. It's absolutely chaotic. Really, really good day. So if you do plan on going, expect it to be a really good day, because it is exactly that. It's such an experience. Really recommend going. But I want to talk about how to get the best shots if you're there, if you're photographing the event, and what to expect. So let's jump in. So first things first, it's traveling to the event. Obviously make sure you leave with plenty of time. This event does get really busy and it is packed. We parked in a massive car park. So specifically if you're talking about the tar barrels, it's a massive field and it's converted into a car park in the sense that they just chuck cars on it. It gets really muddy. Just be aware of what you're wearing. Even though you're going to a street festival, you do want to wear something that's for mud walking, maybe a little bit grippy on your feet. So when you arrive at your festival or your event, one thing you really want to think about is taking cash with you. I know today I don't really carry cash anywhere I go, and a lot of the time most of the vendors were cash only, even though there was card vendors there, but the signals were rubbish and those little card machines aren't always the most reliable machines. So think about taking cash with you, because it's 10 times easier. Rather than messing about with cards, you can just whip some cash out. You're guaranteed to get your food or whatever it is you want. So if you are going to go for the day and you're going to get food there, remember it's quite expensive. You are probably looking about £8 to £10 for a burger. It is what it is. At the end of the day, it's a festival. They've got you there, so they're going to charge you the prices. Food wise, there's a massive variety of food there. There's from Chinese, Cantonese, burgers, chips, hot dogs, all sorts of stuff. So you won't be disappointed with the quality and the choice of the food that's available. I would recommend though bringing your own drinks. Drinks are quite expensive, but also not only that, it is quite big queues at these things. So if you're going to queue for something big like food, which is fine, go and get your food. But obviously if you just want a quick drink, you might be queuing for 10-20 minutes just to get a drink. So I would take a backpack with you, maybe stick a few bottles of water in there just to keep you going through the rest of the event. So this event is really busy, and I would 100% say if you are not the most able person, so if you are wheelchair bound or if you were on crutches, this may not be the event for you. People do get very pushy and it gets very crammed in, and I mean like sardines crammed in, so you might struggle to get around. Also, the other thing I would say, if you do have problems with your mobility, standing, whether you've got balance issues, anything that could potentially be dangerous, be very careful, because these events are very pushy, but also you've got things like hidden dangers. So if you imagine you've got a whole street full of people, the curb's there somewhere, you might step back and step into a curb, and if you lose your balance, you're going down on the floor and you've got problems with your hips, or you've got problems with your legs or your joints. That's going to hurt when you hit the floor, and it's going to be hard to get back up with all them people there as well. So just be very aware that this is a able-bodied experience, although there may be places you can go, I don't know, but there may be places you can go if you are a bit frail in nature. Then maybe head to those places, but I'm not really sure where they are. You do need to learn your route. If you've never been here before, try and familiarise yourself with the area before it gets too busy and you can't actually move anywhere to find out where you're going. You can buy a program, and I would highly recommend buying the program because it does have the routes of where the barrels are, and if you're photographing them, you want to be as close to that as possible. So arriving early and familiarising yourself with the streets is a really good idea, because you can kind of work out the best way to go, the best route to get to the next one, so you're in the right place at the right time. So if you want to get close to the action, the best thing you can do is get pushy. Now, it's crammed in really tight, so the easiest way I found to do it was just put my arm out, push between the gaps, hold your camera up in the air so people can see that you've got a camera. They're a bit more likely to move out of the way. Not only that, don't feel like you're pushing in to get to the front of something, because at the end of the day, you could be going anywhere. They don't know where you're going. They're not going to start thinking you're pushing in to get to the front. So just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and eventually you'll get to the front of the pile. It is quite hard to get there, don't get me wrong. The easiest way I found to do it was to go find the less common places that people are stand in, look for the trails like on your program, and then find a space where it's not so common for people to be stood. So we went all the way up to the top of the town and then come back down on ourselves, because people all come from the bottom and push up. So we went to the top and pushed down. We found that a lot easier to get down to the actual tar barrels than we did coming up into the pack. So settings wise, I went with F4 for my f-stop to get as much light as I could in, 1/25 of a second, because people are moving quite fast and you want to kind of freeze that action, but there are only people, and there are a lot of people in the crowds. So stick to around a 1/25 of a second, and then whatever ISO you need to expose that correctly. I went with 12,800. Sometimes I needed less, sometimes I needed more, but depending on where you're stood. Follow an area where there's buildings, get quite close to the buildings, you get a lot of reflected light off the buildings, so that helps with the light that you've got in the scene. As for shot wise, a lot of the time I was burst firing as they were coming past. I was using autofocus to get my shots, so I was just had it on AI servo and just holding down my focus button and just holding my camera in different positions. So as they run past, maybe hold it down low so you can get a low down shot of it, or where they were transferring the barrels from person to person, just coming down from underneath just to make it a little bit more interesting. As they were coming past, just getting different types of shots, getting a bit creative, and then also trying to get people. I tried to get the ambience of the crowd and also the people that were passing the barrel on, the ones that were left with the flaming gloves. They were quite interesting to shoot as well. So there are a lot of people that you can shoot. If you're not 100% sure where the barrels are going to be, there are people that are around. They're actually the people that are taking the barrels. Look for those. They're usually padded out quite well. They've got really thick pads on, and they also have names on their backs. So just find one of those and stick to one of those, because eventually the barrel will come to them and it will guarantee you a really good shot. So at the start of the evening, about 6, I want to say 6-ish, 7-ish, the first barrels start coming out, and they're usually the youngers that carry them. They're the small barrels, and then as it comes on to the night 9 o'clock sort of time, you get the big massive barrels come out. All that will be in your program as well, what times they start and where they start from. When you get to the big barrels though, do be careful, because they don't stick to a specific path. They literally go from one direction to another, and they could be walking down the street and then they'll just veer left all of a sudden into the crowd. So you've really got to watch, and I think that's part of the fun of it, is you've just got to be on your toes. The barrel come right over the top of me. I had to duck down and it went right over the top of me a couple of times. So yeah, you just got to be very, very aware of your surroundings. So all in all, it was a really good night. I had a really good fun time. I enjoyed taking the photos. I got about 2,000 photos in total. I've gone through them all. I've got quite a lot. I won't pop them all up here because there are quite a lot of them on there that I actually quite like. They are on my socials, so if you follow me on Facebook, you probably have seen them already. They're up already. I put a couple on Instagram, but I don't really put a lot on Instagram, to be honest. Without me whittering on any longer, here are the photos from the Tar Barrels 2024 Ottery St Mary. So that was my experience at the tar barrels. If you do decide to go, hopefully some of those tips will be useful to you. I hope you enjoyed the images. It just leaves me to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.